Hello everybody and welcome to VFR. Today we are here with yet another local legends. This one, the Beechcraft Model 18. Now if you are the returning viewers among you, probably will remember we did a couple videos on the Model 17, the Stagger Wing. So this is an airplane very much after that one's heart. Subsequent development by the Beechcraft Aircraft Company. And it's basically a twin-engine cruiser. Like a DC-6, like a Ju-52, like the Boeing 247 we talked about a little bit, but a little bit smaller. These airplanes served a lot as trainers in World War II. They saw extensive service, but they've basically done anything and everything, moving people, moving goods, a lot of agriculture work, aerial firefighting. All sorts of stuff have been done in this airplane, and a lot of them still fly. So there's over 250 still flying in the world. There were 9,000 plus built between 1937 and 1970. So, again, it's just one of those cool airplanes. If I was a millionaire or a billionaire, I would probably want I would take a good hard look at a Beechcraft Model 17. It's just a cool looking airplane. And it has a lot of that retro feeling, but still, at least on paper, is pretty functional. Top cruising speed of about 190 knots. Which is serviceable in our world. So enough dithering, we're going to hop in the cockpit, get this thing fired up. We are doing a twofer here today, so we are on the ground in an airport in Florida, Central Florida. We're going to be taking this thing basically straight up short flight. We're going to see one of the points of interest, the Bok Tower Gardens Tower, which is one of the things added in World Update 10, United States Part 2. And we're going to go up and check out the new photogrammetry around Walt Disney World and Orlando. So, come on with us. We'll hop into the cockpit and get it going. All right, so we're here on the ground. We got the airplane mostly fired up. Starting is pretty straightforward, but a little finicky, just like these older airplanes. You got your fuel. You've got your fuel controls. Your primer, which you can use to prime the engine. Magnetos are over on this side. Battery and generator over on this side. So you got a bit of a split cockpit here. We're going to turn on basically all of our lights. And we'll get out the flashing nav lights and extend our landing gear lights. But then you have basically, you select which engine and then booster pump you turn on, and then the start pump button you hit. Also, the cockpit is a little bit of a retrofit cockpit, which is all right with me. I actually prefer that a little bit to the kind of old school pure 1937 vintage. Again, these were built between 37 and 70 and still fly today. So this is perfectly, I don't know if there's one out there with this specific configuration, but yeah, if you look up videos of people flying twin Beeches out there on YouTube, they'll probably have some upgraded avionics. So I'm not against that. I'm not against a retrofit cockpit. I personally like that because it's a little more serviceable for me. I fly more modern stuff generally, so it just plugs into my simming life better. I don't have to go learn Warbird all over and watch out for some of those things. But if you are a hardcore historical person, your mileage may vary. A couple other notes. Windows do open, doors open. They have a great animation for the, I love the table. It's a stupid thing, but that's fantastic. I don't know why that does so good for me, but, so that's all there. The only other thing I will say is that I feel like it's a little quiet. The engines are a little quiet. The sounds are a little quiet. I'm having to fuddle with my settings, my audio settings, which are not really set up for these kind of airplanes anyway. It is kind of set up for streaming, but it is a little quiet to my ear, so a little beef behind the engine sounds would be appreciated. But nothing we can't tune. And we're going to basically taxi on out here. This is a smaller airport. We're going to taxi on out to the runway right here, take off, and basically shoot north. We're going to try and pick up that point of interest to the Bok Garden Tower, and then head up to Disney. So also note, this is a tail dragger, high nose, so you are going to have to get up in a taxi position. I like to lean forward a little bit with my sim head and get up in the seat as high as it'll go. But, you know, slowly, steady, look out the window. And, but that's something to think about, too. It is a tail dragger. Okay, so we're holding short of the runway now. We're going to taxi on out. Now, if you are interested, looking at this plane maybe to buy, there is a checklist that comes with it, so you can learn how to pick up the engine, to start the engine, basically, start the airplane up. It's pretty basic, but it gets the job done for you. We're going to taxi on out here. Line up on center line. So we've got mixture full forward, props full forward. We've got the runway heading knocked in here, about 240. So what I'm going to do is bring the power up to 30 inches of manifold pressure. Let it stabilize a little bit. Let the RPM catch up. You're going to see quite a bit of lag. And then I'll go up to 35 or so, just about into the yellow zone. And then once we basically are up at speed, the tail wheel will come up. We'll have to counteract that with some rudder. Make sure we don't go anywhere. And then we're just trying to keep the airplane on the runway and just lightly pulling back once we get to 80 or so knots. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and let that come up. If it helps to bump yourself up, go ahead and do that. See, there you go. So the tail wheel's off now. This is a plane where rudder pedals are probably going to help you out. That's 80 knots, so we're just going to lightly add some back pressure and let it come off the runway fairly naturally. I'm giving it a good amount of stick deflection, so I am pulling it pretty good. It's not probably as temperamental as something like a DC-6. All right, so we are up and away. We're going to turn right, fly basically past the airport, and keep a lookout for the point of interest, the Bok Garden Towers. All right, so you can just about see the point off our nose here, the Bok Tower Gardens. This is a quoting from Wikipedia, a contemplative garden and bird sanctuary located atop Iron Mountain, north of Lake Wales, Florida. Again, this is what passes for a mountain in the great state of Florida. But it is, by all accounts, it's a very impressive garden, and the tower is one of the taller structures in the area. It's a National Historic Landmark. Was built in basically, I believe, the 1920s or 1930s. So it is an impressive piece of architecture. And just one of the small things you can see. Now, I did see they added a bunch of world updates. The idea of a second world update for the United States may be controversial. I understand that. I could see how there are a lot of other countries in the world that have world updates. That would be great too. But as one of those Americans, I'm psyched. I will always take it. And a lot of the Southwest stuff, a lot of the national parks got new aerial imagery, so I'm excited to check out that. We can revisit Yellowstone. There's the tower right there. It is a bit of a mountain. But yeah, there's a lot of points of interest that they've added. I'm excited about the work, especially in the national parks. So we've done a lot of flying in Yellowstone. I'm working on a VFR flight through there now. So I'll be interested to see the differences that makes. I think that's really cool. The handcrafted airports are really cool, I think, if you fly private jets or general aviation stuff. Valdez screams DC-6 flight. Catalina screams this. Block Island was one I actually flew into with the 310R again recently. And then Tahoe is another one, so Lake Tahoe Airport. So they're all very scenic airports, smaller airports, and I think they all add quite a bit of cool stuff to this sim. But yeah, I am not. I can see why people get sick of another USA World Update if you don't fly in the States a lot. But I do fly in the States a lot, so it makes me very happy. So we're going to turn basically due north, follow the highways to the north, and that should take us pretty much to Walt Disney World, which is another area where they've added some photogrammetry, new photogrammetry data for the Kissimmee, Orlando, Walt Disney World kind of area. So we'll fly over that, give it a look, and then we'll probably just park it at maybe Orlando Executive. So a little more about the cockpit as we cruise out to Disney. We do have an autopilot down here. You got roll, heading, altitude, hold, and pitch hold. It's nothing crazy, but it is kind of nice. It's a kind of hand-baked, more authentic autopilot than just the Bendix one they slap in there. So that's nice. You do have the GNS 430 included. I don't know of any other panel configurations, but that is, so that'll be your COM 1, NAV 1. We also have transponder down here, fuel flow, as well as the NAV 2 radio and COM 2 over here, and your ADF down here. So you've got your engine gauges up here, kind of center, and to the right on the panel. You've got kind of your standard 6-pack stuff spread out here, and a bunch of switches and levers and knobs down here, but it is kind of split between the co-pilot side and the pilot side. And there's a smaller one, mostly with lights and circuit breakers up here, but you do have your avionics master switch is here. So that is important. Over Walt Disney World now. Just taking a look at the photogrammetry, and I'm pretty impressed. I think it looks really good, actually. I've been to Walt Disney World, but not recently. So I'm still, I'm trying to orient myself, remember what is that and what is Universal Studios and whatever. But yeah, you can identify the different parks from the photogrammetry, which is kind of impressive. I mean, these are very distinctive structures. For instance, we'll fly back by Epcot, but you can see the Epcot ball. You can see the Disney Castle. It's smaller than you think, but that's accurate to how it is in the real world. You can see all the resorts. It is pretty cool. So it looks really good for photogrammetry data for not hand-placed stuff. It's not perfect, but I'm actually pretty impressed. I was not sure how rough it would be, but that actually looks really, really good. See the big monorail station there. I think it's also a hotel. We're coming over Magic Kingdom now. You can see the big spiky thing. It's Disney Castle. And if you fly back up the lake and up the roads, we can get to the other parks. But you recognize it as Disney World, and that's pretty cool. That's somewhere I've been, and yeah, I can pick it out from the air, kind of. So that is interesting. It looks really good. The area around it looks good. But yeah, some new photogrammetry stuff at Walt Disney World. Pretty cool. I would suggest checking it out if you're at all interested in seeing this from the air. Now, flight characteristics wise, the Model 18, it feels a bit like a GA plane. Not so much the commercial airliner as a Ju-52 or the Boeing 247. This feels more like a Mooney, like a big oversized Mooney, than anything else, and that's interesting to me. It's not even that it's real responsive and roll. It's not, but it does have it's not a super challenging airplane. It'll go where you point it. It'll stay pretty level, and you've got lots of lift. Again, these big wings. That's how these things are designed. It's, you know, part of that is, you know, part of floating in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but part of it for these airplanes like this and the JU-52 is just how those airplanes are designed. You've got these huge wings, and, you know, they're designed to glide and float and, you know, worst case scenario and all that. But it feels very much like a cruiser to me. It doesn't feel like a big heavy thing like a DC-6 or I would imagine a DC-3 too. So it's a bit smaller than that. It's again, yeah, it's almost like an oversized Mooney. But it is very fun, and it is good. You've got the autopilot, you've got some quality of life features. So this is something that would be perfectly capable for some VFR cruising and, you know, normal everyday simming. You don't have to put on your historical hat too much to do it. All right, so we are now on approach here. We're coming into Kissimmee. Wind is calm today, so we're just coming in on this runway here that's lining up with us. Now, we do get a little horn if you pull the throttle back all the way without the gear down. We are at 100 knots, 120 knots. Just a bit high. But again, the plane is pretty good about slowing down if you pull the power back. You want to, you know, you don't want to pull it all the way out. Keep it. I try to keep it above 15 just as a rule, but that's based on nothing but intuition. And then it's pretty stable. Now I'm going to go for a 3-point landing. We're going to just try and stall that out onto the 3, but we'll see how that goes. We are a bit high. Again, I'm kind of aiming for 80 knots when we get down here. But it'll fly just a bit lower than that. So I'm going to sit up and just try and make sure we can put it into a good 3-point attitude. So there we're right about 80. No, pull the power. Just holding it off the runway, let it come on down. When it's ready. Woo! So yeah, that it is a tail dragger, which adds a little bit of fun to the exercise of landing. But yeah, it's a good plane. Good fun. It doesn't feel exceptionally floating. Not on final. So that is good. Doesn't feel exceptionally floaty. Feels pretty natural, actually. Alright, so that is the Beech Model 18. A really fun, kind of old school retro, but still pretty capable cruiser. You can carry a decent amount of passengers and baggage and stuff, so it's very capable. A Beech Twin, really one of those classic streamlined airplanes from times gone by. So, thanks for coming along. We took a look at World Update 10 a little bit as well. We'll see a little bit with that, probably with some flights out to some of the new airports, because I think some of those are going to be really interesting. But for now, that's it for us. It's been VFR. Thanks for watching all. Take it easy.